All right, everyone. My computer says it's 11:15, and so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to let Amy introduce herself, um, and um, hopefully you all are able to. If there are any issues at all during the presentation, you can feel free to. My name's Cindy Ross, and I'm the moderator. Just message me in the chat. And if you have questions, feel free to put them in and I will help Amy with making sure that those get answered. Thank you, Amy, for presenting, and I'll turn it over to you.
Cindy, can you hear me okay right now?
Yes.
Okay, because on my end, my computer is freezing up a little bit. So I don't love that. And I'm trying to figure out why it is. I just tried to share that document with everybody and it froze up on me.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
do I have the ability um, to share my screen with you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm not seeing it. I'm going to leave very quickly and come right back in. This happened to me once before earlier. So
Okay.
I'm thinking that when I close out and come right back in 30 seconds, everything should be fine. So I apologize, everybody. Give me just a moment here.
No problem. I do have the link to Amy's presentation in the chats, and she has several resources in that presentation. So feel free to click on that and download it onto your own computer so you'll have access to her presentation.
Okay. I'm back. Cindy, again, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I apologize, everybody. I am using my personal laptop, and I thought that it would work just fine. So I wouldn't have to bring my work laptop home, and now I am somewhat regretting that decision. All right. So if you take a look, I'm attempting to share my screen, by the way, Cindy, and it is not pulling up. If it continues to do that, it might just be easier to have you share your screen. And that way we don't have to have me try to close out and come back in again. Can you pull up the presentation?
I sure can.
That'd be fabulous. Thank you. Do you mind just clicking your way through it as I continue? I'll let you know when to click.
Sure.
Okay. Cindy, thank you for your flexibility, and I apologize for the technical difficulties. Although sometimes it feels like when it comes to technology, if something isn't going wrong, then I'm more worried than if it is. Because once something's gone wrong, I at least know the thing that's going to go wrong, otherwise you're waiting for it. Can you see it on your screen? My screen is still just saying your name, Cindy.
I see it. I'll see it.
Can everybody else see the first slide of the presentation?
It shows loading for me.
It also shows loading for me.
It shows loading for you as well. Were you guys able to access the slide deck?
Yes.
When it was dropped in the chat, was everybody able to access it? Okay.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah,
still,
I can see it, but it tells me that it's also that the screen sharing is paused and I don't know why. So I'm going to stop sharing and let me try it again. Okay, let me see if I can. All right, we're still having issues here.
okay. So but everybody was able to access the presentation, like the link to it in the chat?
Yep, I'm on it.
Okay, so here's my suggestion is going to be that just grab it from the chat and open it that way. And we can just I'll let you know what slide I'm on, and we'll just look at it that way rather than trying to get it to work perfectly through Zoom. So it's education. It is all about flexibility and finding new ways to do things when we encounter problems. So if everybody can open up that link in the chat, it will prompt you to make a copy of the presentation. And I did that because I've embedded some helpful links in there. What we're going to talk about is fairly complicated in that there's a lot of things to actually look at, more than we can really cover effectively in half an hour. So I included some links to some other documents so that you could take a closer look at them kind of at your leisure. So I'm moving on to slide 2 in the slide deck. And slide 2 just lets you know who I am. I'm Amy Merrill-Wyatt. I am the Technology Innovation and Integration Consultant at the Educational Service Center of Lake Erie West. That is quite a mouthful, I know. And my area of focus is helping teachers and districts and administrators and everybody find ways to use technology more effectively. This presentation was developed with my colleague, Natalie Crott. Natalie is the STEM consultant at the ESC, and her area of expertise is really bringing more project-based and hands-on methods of learning into the classroom. So when I first started talking to her about ChatGPT and its potential, the conversation that she and I had together was there is so much potential with ChatGPT for it to be used both incredibly meaningful and effective ways to provide equity to students whose teachers maybe don't have access to all of the resources really wealthy districts have. And it's also a way for, teachers who are every day expected to do a million different things and to do them perfectly. And it's just not always possible for us to meet the needs of our students the way we want to every minute of every day. And ChatGPT definitely provides some potential there to help address that challenge for teachers. So I'm moving on to slide 3. Slide 3 was supposed to, be pulled up and show you a couple of different pictures. It was just a little bit about me. You can see there the Educational Service Center. We're based
So I believe we've lost Amy. So hopefully she figures that out and she is able to get back on. We'll just give her a few minutes here.
We can see the presentation now, though.
All right, awesome, great. I think that the problem is that when I try to actually put it in presentation mode, it stops sharing. So I'm just leaving the Google Slides in regular mode, and we'll do it that way. I have no way of contacting Amy, so we'll just wait, see what happens. Yeah, worst comes to worst, at least you have her presentation.
This happened to me in the last session. My internet just kicked me out and I had to keep joining. So,
Well, I was having problems with my internet at home, so I actually am at Panera doing this.
boy.
Yeah, you just, The beauty of technology, at least there's someplace else to go, right? Well, maybe while we're waiting for her, is there anybody on here that wants to share your experiences with AI, or positive or negative at all, while we wait for her to click on?
So I'm going to say I haven't even played with GPT yet. I've heard so much about it, but I haven't done anything at all with it.
So actually recently with a group of students, I teach at the university, and I had them, their family consumer science and business marketing education students, and we did use it to do some searching for lesson plans. You know, there were good ones, and there were things that wouldn't work for them, but it gave them ideas. And I think that was, and quickly, as opposed to just searching through Google, because it could be very specific. Anybody else want to share while we're waiting? Lots of people saying that don't know a lot about it. It's a little bit of a scary thing, no doubt.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So I was an English teacher at the high school that I'm now a student success coordinator at for 5 years before I moved into this. And we actually taught lessons on ChatGPT and IA writing with our high school students, and just how to use it as a tool rather than something. What we taught our students was we never wanted them to use it as a way to stop original thinking. And so that's what we were really afraid of when students realized the source of, oh, I could just say, write an informative essay on whatever subject they chose. And then they're like, look, I have this whole paper. And so as wonderful as it, like, it can be a really great tool. It's just getting young learners to realize that they need to work with it and input their own original thinking, and not replacing their thinking with this tool.
Yeah, the scary thing about that is that if we don't have original thinking, then eventually AI will just be outdated, because it'll just be outdated information and not new ideas out there, right? I mean, you got to continue to have the creativity and build on that. That's a good point.
I'll pop in. My name's Jordan. So I put it in the chat as well. I'm in a school counselor program at BGSU, and I was previously an English teacher. And I thought it was really cool. One of my professors used it in class, and he had done a few things to set it up ahead of time to kind of input information into ChatGPT so that it would pretend to be a client. So we were able to have practice counseling conversation with ChatGPT. And so I thought that was a really cool example of how to use it creatively for a teaching method.
Anybody else want to share thoughts, or just even your thoughts about pros and cons that you might even think about AI? So I'm kind of excited because I actually have a grad assistant who's done a lot of research on she's a social studies teacher, or future teacher, and she has done a lot of work on AI, and so she's sending me a bunch of resources that I'm excited to take a look at. You know, it's at this point is that trying not to be afraid of it, and trying to embrace it somehow, because it is a part of our lives. But the learning curve is a little different. Yeah, I'm not sure if we're gonna get Amy back. I'm trying to text the higher ups to see. I'm thinking at this point that if maybe you want to leave and join another session so that you can at least, um, you know, spend your time here and not just waiting. If you feel free to do that, and apologize for the, we're in a technology presentation. We're having technology issues, but it happens. Okay, so I just contacted those that are overseeing the conference, and they said at this point probably should just leave and join another presentation because we haven't heard from her. So I would just go ahead and move forward. So I truly appreciate your time and sorry about our issues.
Cindy, I apologize. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have been apparently talking to nobody for like 10 minutes now. When did you
Oh,
lose me?
okay. A while, about 10 minutes ago.
Okay,
So,
everybody, I apologize. Again, the slide deck is in there. I'm going to pick up. I'm not even going to attempt to share my screen because I'm afraid that if I do, I'm going to lose you guys again. Ugh, I'm freezing again. Cindy, can you still hear me?
yes, and I have your presentation up and people can see it.
Okay.
But for some reason you just totally left, and so I think some people left to go on to different presentations. That was what we suggested because I didn't have any way of
Yes.
letting you know that you were, and I was worried that you were still talking and didn't realize it.
You know what? I am so sorry. I truly don't understand what's going on here because I've done Zoom meetings on my home laptop before and it's always worked fine. So I didn't bring my I didn't bring my work laptop home because every time I bring my work laptop home, I forget and have to drive back to get it on Monday morning. So I'm like, oh, I'll just use my personal computer and it typically works fine. Do we have anybody left in here?
Yes, we have 7 people that are here.
Okay. So and everybody was able to access the version of it that you dropped in the chat?
Correct. And right now I have showing a little bit about me still up.
Okay. All right, let's just skip on down. You know what? I'm going to have you move on down, at this point, I'm going to skip over the session objectives. Sorry, guys. We're just going to kind of move past the teachers pay teachers, move on down to the slide that says HQIM. I think it's the next one.
Got
Okay.
it.
So HQIM, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Hopefully we all know what high quality instruction materials are. The only thing that I will say is, you know, they're not high quality instruction materials if they're not rigorously aligned with the standards. And unless they have been designed with Ohio standards in mind, the materials you have may or may not actually meet that high quality instructional material standard. It's important to be aware of that. And it can be very challenging, even with really good materials that are HQIM, to make sure that they are still right for your students, that they're engaging for your students, that they meet the diverse needs of your students. It can be very, very challenging. Cindy, go ahead and move on to the next slide. The 5E instructional model, I wish that I had known about this when I was still in the classroom because I love it. And it very much puts the emphasis back on the student and the student learning. You know, we say the students should be doing the hard work, they should be doing the heavy lifting. And the 5E instructional model makes sure that they are doing exactly that. It was developed, I can't remember if it was by scientists at NASA or if the scientists at NASA who were, part of their educational wing picked up on it pretty quickly and were excited about it. But it is definitely a NASA supported way of teaching. And keep in mind that it's good for more than just science. If you're like, well, NASA, I teach English, this doesn't apply to me. No, it still does, because the focus is on engaging your students' curiosity. As human beings, we are curious, we are inquisitive, we want to seek out new information, and this helps feed that need in a way that is less time consuming for teachers than some other methods. All right, Cindy, go ahead and move on to the next slide. Okay, ChatGPT, right about now, we would actually be getting into ChatGPT, but since my screen's not working, we're just going to kind of move over that part. Out of curiosity, how many of you have actually used either ChatGPT or Bard, which is Google's version of a very similar AI? Okay, Cindy, are people responding in the chat? I can't see the chat, unfortunately.
Yes,
Okay.
people have used ChatGPT.
Okay.
And a few that have not.
Okay. All right. It's all over. I'm definitely finding there's still a decent number of educators who haven't used ChatGPT yet. So if you haven't, don't worry, you're not behind the curve. If you've tried it out, that's fabulous. And keep on doing that. But ChatGPT, essentially, you've used artificial intelligence for years. I'm not going to get into the huge differences here because we've lost so much time. But ChatGPT can generate new content. So with the information you're getting from ChatGPT is based on identifying patterns within language from millions, probably billions of websites. It recognizes patterns. It's able to break apart those language patterns and then recreate them in ways that
Okay, I think we lost her again. I hope that she figures that out sooner than she did last time, but we'll just wait and see what happens.
I'm feeling for her right about now because this is terrible when you have a lesson or a presentation that falls apart like this.
Well, I'm understanding her frustration because my internet at home wasn't working. I'm at Panera and now my earbuds are out of juice. So you can probably hear all kinds of stuff in the background when I come on.
Well, it's that kind of day.
Cindy, hello again. I think we lost each other. Can you hear me
Hello.
now? Okay,
We
so
can hear
let's
you.
move on. Yeah, sorry. Let's move on to the next slide, which is the one that has the little plaid tablecloth there. Okay, so putting it all together. So essentially what I do in the next several slides is walk you through putting together a lesson plan using the upcoming solar eclipse. And I did it for 7th grade because that is the Ohio standard. So I have right there the Ohio 7th grade standard that students should be able to recognize that the relative patterns of motion and positions of Earth, Moon, Sun cause solar and lunar eclipses, tides, and phases of the moon. So I have linked here a planning template to use with the 5 E's. So it's a blank template. You can make a copy of it and you can use it with your own standard to develop one of these 5 E, engaging lesson plans for your students. And then underneath there, I also have a completed one. So I went through and I completed one, and there's additional notes in there as well. So if you click on that under number 4, you can also view the one I filled out here. You're going to see that 7th grade standard up top there. And then you're going to see how I use that 5E model and ChatGPT to actually go through and fill it out. And some of the things in there I did not fill out using ChatGPT, but I did use ChatGPT to generate ideas. So ChatGPT is great for brainstorming ideas, to get ideas on how your students can actually demonstrate something. So if you're teaching your students something, you can ask them things like, so I think I gave the example of using, if you're a social studies teacher, and some things will work better than others. You can ask it things like, how can my students demonstrate their understanding of how ancient Egyptians built their pyramids? Give me 10 ways my students can demonstrate this for me. And it'll give you some suggestions. Some of them are going to be bad, some of them are going to be good. Cindy, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So you can use it to come up with those ideas, like how can my students demonstrate this, and then work backwards to make sure that your students are having an understanding of those pieces so that they can actually truly demonstrate how to do something. You will get suggestions that you can't necessarily do in the classroom. So then you can go back and you can say, okay, these are great, but give me 10 more suggestions, like number 5, that I can actually do in my classroom. Again, not everything's going to be perfect, but it is a great way to brainstorm ideas. Okay, Cindy, go ahead, move on to the next slide, which is going to be engage. Okay, so here we have just an overview of what it means to engage a student in a topic, ways that you can do it. Giving them a problem that they can't solve yet is a great way to get them engaged. But it needs to be a low stress problem, something that they can try out and that they're not going to feel bad if they don't do it right. And this is important because a large part of life is learning to do new things that we don't know. And it is okay to not know how to solve all problems. It's okay not to have the answers. Part of this process is helping students to recognize, what do I know? What don't I know? And how can I bridge the gap between these? Cindy, go ahead and move on to the next slide, please. So taking that engage piece, and these, all my examples on this slide are related to the solar eclipses and recognizing the patterns of the earth and the moon. So I've gone through and I've written out possible prompts that I could put in to ChatGPT. So you can kind of read through those and see the sorts of things that I would ask ChatGPT in order to find a way to come up with that engage piece for this topic. At the very bottom, I have a link to how my engage chat went. So if you open up that here link at the bottom, you can go through and you can read what I asked ChatGPT, what its response was. And I also included my reactions to those responses, because in order to use ChatGPT effectively, you don't just go in and ask it a question. You go in, you ask it a question, you get results, and then you start engaging in a conversation with it saying, hey, I don't like this. I do like this, make this adjustment here. How about if we try this other thing? And you can see that in my engaged chat, how I went through and did that. Go ahead and Cindy, move on to that next slide. Again, I apologize. I'm kind of brushing over some of the stuff pretty quickly to try and cover it in the time that we have here. So explore. Once again, you have that example of the explore piece. This is where, so engage is just really, you're getting their curiosity. You're getting them to start wondering. You want them to start asking questions. You want them to start relating it to past knowledge. Well, now that they have those questions in their brain, now that they've started to build some of those connections with past knowledge, you want them to really start exploring what it is you want them to know about this. And you want to ideally give them multiple ways to do this, because different students are going to explore information in different ways. And again, it can be hard to, make sure that you have different ways for 5 different types of learner approaches without the help of something like ChatGPT. Cindy, if you move on to the next slide there. Okay, so here I'm giving you some more possible prompts. Now, keep in mind, I'm in the same chat. Like when you go to ChatGPT, and again, or Bard, you can do new chats. So like you can start one chat and then you can move on and do a different chat, and it hangs on to all of your chats. Like I can go back and check out chats that I did in March of last year with ChatGPT, and I can pick up with that conversation, pick up where we left off and continue it. But assuming you're in the same chat here, you don't need to keep telling it, hey, I'm a 7th grade science teacher, or again, whatever your topic is. I, once again, linked it down there so that you can, in your free time there, go through and read what sorts of questions did I ask ChatGPT. When it gave me results, how did I ask ChatGPT to refine them and to adjust them? Your conversation won't be identical. Even if you're doing a solar eclipse, your conversation might not be identical to mine, but it will give you a sense of the types of questions to ask and the ways in which you can ask ChatGPT to make adjustments for you. Cindy, could you go ahead and move on to that next slide there, please? Thank you. So here we have explain. Once again, this is listing for you different ways your students can explain their understanding. So they're taking that explore piece, they've explored, they've learned about this topic. Here's ways that they can explain to you, that they can demonstrate to you their understanding, so that they're not just answering questions on a test. They're actually showing you what they know and what they can do. Cindy, go ahead and move on to that next slide, please.
Oh, Amy, just to let you know, we have about 10 minutes left.
Okay. All right. So the rest of these here this is the, well, let me talk about this one and then I'll talk quickly about the other ones. So explain, this is where we bring that HQIM piece back. It is going to be really, really important in this explain piece. So you don't want to just be using ChatGPT as your main point of information. I guess actually this should be kind of connected with the Explorer piece as well. But you shouldn't just be providing your students with information from ChatGPT. you need to make sure that you're using those high quality instructional materials. You are using your textbook. You are using videos suggested by the textbook. You're using, websites suggested by the state of Ohio. You have to remember ChatGPT is not always accurate. It should not be a source of information for your students, full stop. You can use it to take information that you understand and to mold it the way you want it to be, but it should not be a source of actual information for you or your students, because what it might be telling you could be totally wrong. It is great for the things that I have listed there. And then I also linked my explain chat. The next several slides here are just going to be the remaining steps that elaborate and that evaluate piece. There's an explanation of each one. And then on the following slide, I give you some examples that could be used related to solar eclipses. And I also give you the full transcript of how my conversation went. As I said, even if we hadn't had technical difficulties, to really understand how to do these things, you definitely should read through my transcripts, see how I engaged, and then go in there and get into ChatGPT and try it out yourself. Whatever you're teaching, start by asking ChatGPT, how can my students demonstrate this? How can my students demonstrate this in a classroom? How can, and then once you have that general idea of how you want them to demonstrate it, okay, how can I engage them in this topic? Always ask for multiple suggestions. Don't just ask for, how do I do this? Say, give me 10 ways or 20 ways or 5 ways or whatever. There's no right or wrong number in there. And then once you get results, go back through and tell it, hey, I really like number 3. Give me more results like that. It is going to be a great way for you to get ideas to use with your students. And you can then take that and you can build it and expand on it into this 5 E's lesson plan. All right, Cindy, move on to our last slide. I'm sorry, second to last slide, the one with the question mark on it. And at this point, in spite of our many technical difficulties here, does anybody have any questions right now? Oh, and again, Cindy, I still can't see the chat. So if there's questions in there, could you read them to me, please?
Yes, we don't have any questions. Just so that you know, when you were gone, we actually had people were sharing their experiences with, if they've had any with ChatGPT, and so we actually had conversation waiting for you to come back on.
I am, and again, Cindy, I can't apologize enough, and I feel like it's definitely got to be a problem on my end.
It's, you know what, it's fine. And actually what's really great is that you shared that presentation, and, even those that left have a copy of that presentation. And since it seems like you're so thorough and gave us a lot of, examples and your connections to your transcripts, or how you did things, that's really, really helpful. So I really appreciate it.
Yes, and I did try to, because it is such a complex thing that where you really do need to kind of take the time and think through it and reflect upon it. I wanted to make sure to provide all those resources for people so they could see what I did and then kind of model their own off of it.
So I do have a question, because I went to a recent AI presentation, and I know it has the word magic in it, but it's specifically for educators or
Oh, Magic
teachers,
School.
or
Yeah, Magic
thank
School
you.
AI.
And so what's the difference about that one compared to others?
So the Magic School versus ChatGPT. So Magic School is using it's a large language model, just like ChatGPT. They're using their own filters on there with the information to help structure the queries, so that you're just able to go in and be like, hey, I would like I'd like to level text. And so you can go in and you can put information in there, and it is going to structure the query correctly. I mean, you're not even seeing it. You're just like, hey, level this text. And then it's going to bring it back in a way that's targeted towards education. And their categories are all set up specifically for people in education. So And it's not, I don't know that it's using ChatGPT. It's probably not. It's probably using its own large language model. So I think that like if you don't feel ready for ChatGPT, I would absolutely go and check out Magic School AI. You're going to love it. But that is the big difference there is it's like getting rid of the rest of the stuff that ChatGPT can do. It's focusing it into specific categories like lesson plans or rubrics, and there's a ton of other things as well. Lesson plans, rubrics, text leveler, all these different things. So you don't have as much freedom to make adjustments to your queries when you're in Magic School, but you don't also need to make as many adjustments because it's already more targeted. Does that answer the question?
Yes. To follow up, Erin posted in the chat. Her question is, how do you get text at different levels, especially if you can't copy and paste the text?
Okay. Well, I mean, one, you probably can copy and paste the text one way or the other. I mean, if it's in a textbook, I mean, in theory, you could like use like your microphone and like read it into like Google Doc even, and then copy and paste from there. But when it comes to leveling text, to be honest with you, I don't think ChatGPT does a very good job of it. I would actually use either Magic School. Magic School has a really good leveler in there. And then there's another one that I'm blanking on the name of. I can't think of it. There's another really good one out there. But Magic School AI's text leveler is actually really good. But ChatGPT, if you go in and you're like, okay, level this text for students who's reading at, this Lexile, it does not do a good job of it. And I think, again, it's that, it's not targeted for education, and Magic School has more of those, its own filter. How it is filtering that information is bringing back the correct results rather than the results that you're getting from a general ChatGPT query. Has anybody else used? There's another leveler that does a really good job, and I'm blanking on what it's called. I'll look into it and I'll share that with you, Cindy, and you can share it with whoever asked the question there.
That'd be great.
Yeah, but Magic School definitely, Magic School leveler is very good.
Anybody else have questions?
Oh, I'm going to suggest checking out Goblin Tools as well for everybody. Goblin Tools is going to be great for you or your students if you struggle getting started on tasks, if you struggle knowing how to get started on tasks, if you struggle knowing how long it takes to do tasks. Goblin Tools takes complex tasks and it breaks them down into steps. And then it will also give you an estimator on how long it takes. It is great for neurodivergent people, whether we're talking neurodivergent teachers or students, either way, it is a very helpful tool.
Anybody else have a question? Amy, thank you so much. I know that was frustrating for you. It's ironic that we have technology issues and having something to do with technology, but just so you know, there were others in here were having technology issues while you were gone. I was sharing that I was having internet problems, so I came to Panera to do this. And then right in the middle of this, my earbuds died. So
oh my God.
So it happens. So just appreciate it. And again, your presentation, having that link helps tremendously. So thank you.
Oh, fabulous. You're welcome. Again, yes, I appreciate everybody's patience, and I do hope you find those tools helpful. My email should be linked there in the slide deck as well, and you're more than welcome to reach out to me with any follow-up questions you have.
Okay. So everyone, just as a reminder, we're meeting back into the main session. So you'll need to log out of this Zoom and go back to that main session. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much, Amy.